This is a Pint-Sized Media podcast production.
Hi, I'm Lauren Edmonds, and this is the Lauren Edmonds Podcast. I'm talking all things education and parenting for children in the primary school years, but specifically for remedial and special needs children. I hope to give you my insights that I've gained over the last 12 years of in-field research, owning a special needs school in Johannesburg, as well as the academic research I've been doing for decades. I hope you enjoy it. So I want to talk about how children feel safe or not safe. And there's a level of physical safety that children need to experience, locked gates, pull covers, right? But there's another element to it, and it's not whether we are safe or aren't safe, it's whether we feel safe or we don't feel safe. And that's a huge component for all children, but even more for children that are struggling and sit within the remedial or the special needs space, because there's reduced capacity at a number of levels. And when we feel as if we are unsafe, you can imagine what the body does. If you've done any reading recently around the nervous system and fight or flight, when we don't feel safe, our brain stops thinking because we just stop learning. If you speak to any occupational therapist, they'll talk about children in an anxious anxiety state cannot learn. End of story. So part of that anxiety, there's a number of components, but part of that is, does the child feel safe? And safety comes from predictability and ability to handle things happening in your environment, including change. And one of the big components of safety for children is just understanding where they're coming from and understanding how you're moving them from one environment to another. So if we talk about going to school, specifically going to school rather than going home from school, because your home environment is probably the safest place a child will be and feel. But if you move from home out of the home, so they're coming from mom and dad as their biggest safety net, and the predictability of their home as the biggest safety net. And then we can talk about, is the home predictable? Because if the home isn't predictable, then the home doesn't feel safe anymore. But let's assume to some level the home is predictable, safe, mom and dad are there, child stubs their toe and mom comes running. And then you move into the school environment. At the worst, it's a huge big school that's very academic, and teachers don't feel that safe because they're just driving academics. So that's quite a big change for a child, especially a young child, and especially a young child who is struggling. So you want to get them up in the morning and get them to school, and it's actually maybe not about the routine at all. It's about, I don't want to go to this place because I don't feel protected, I don't feel heard, I don't feel like anyone's got my back, I feel overlooked. And it goes down to, there's some big things that happen at school, but little things like, I need the bathroom, and if I couldn't go at break because of whatever was happening, bell's gone, now I'm lining up, I'm back in class, and this teacher is not going to let me go. So there's a feeling of insecurity in that, because it's a basic human need that I'm being restricted from. And the child has a number of, I say the child, it sounds very disembodied, but, and I don't want to say little Johnny, that's like overused, but the boy, the girl, the child, their body knows they have a need, something that, it could even be thirst or hunger. At that simple level, the body knows it needs something. A person in authority is telling you no, absolutely not, or yes and rolling their eyes, sighing, making you feel shameful for the thing that's so natural that you need to go to the bathroom. And then you have a decision to go anyway at the wrath of the teacher, to defy the teacher, or to defy yourself. And all three of them are dangerous. The one that I think is the most dangerous, because it's least seen and has longer term consequences, is when you defy yourself. So then I decide I can't go to the bathroom. I'm not going to defy the teacher. I will sit down and suck it up. And let's say that's 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And how do you process that? So either you're going to wet your pants, and that's a whole nother shame cycle, or your body's going to hold in. And I'm just talking at a basic function. Imagine levels of anxiety around this as well. So you now have got to dissociate yourself from a very real occurrence that's happening in your body. And now we wonder why kids get shut off. And we wonder why they overeat or undereat, because we've literally told them not to listen to their bodies. So that's a basic safety thing. And if that's not happening in your school, which would be wonderful if that wasn't happening, and that's a big component for around what we do at school, is helping children to reconnect with their body so they feel safe in their own skin. Because if I can't feel safe on my own, then I'm relying on an external source, and then if that lets me down even once, the anxiety and safety is compromised even more. But from a parenting point of view, if I go back to this, home is mom and dad and predictability, and school is no mom. Adults that are unpredictable. Yes, there's routine, but there's peers, there's so many moving parts and unpredictability. If I as a child don't have the skills to cope with that, why would I want to go? And there are a lot of children that go anyway, and that's when school becomes destructive. And then there's a large component, especially after COVID, we've got more lockdown in 2020, we've been given permission to not go. And there's many more children that are staying at home than ever have in the past. And I think that we should understand and honor that to some level. That why is it? Is it purely just, is it lazy? I think that's a destructive word. It is children and parents who found permission to not push themselves to go and do the thing that is scary. And we've lost something in that. But we have to honor it, because is it scary? And school should never be scary. It's the second biggest environment a child is in their childhood, home and school. What are we doing creating schools that are scary for children? And then, of course, we need to look at balance as well. How do we push children but also keep them safe? So parents should be considering the narrative they have at home and the kind of communication and conversations they have with children around places other than the home, and building up the skill in the child. Because we can't make the world safe for the child, but we can make the child able to cope with the world, even when it gets harsh.